Right. How's it going, everybody? My name is Unpause, aka Ben, aka Pug, aka whatever you want to call me. And today I'm joined by
I'm trying to block Josh.
Josh in the background.
Oh.
Hello. And
Aaron,
aka Little Man 246. I'll
and
link.
together we're
The Buddy Talk Podcast.
Hell yeah! I'll link both of
that's
those
cool.
down in the description, and you can check them out. And today we're here with another album of the decade discussion. It's been like a week, 2 weeks, like a week and a half since the last one. I've been ill. I do apologise. I'm still a bit ill, but we're just gonna run through it and do Saturation 3, the third.
the one after the second one.
Well, actually, it's kind of the fourth Brockhampton album, but no one really likes to talk about All American Trash.
I've listened to it.
Don't. Or like 2 good songs, maybe. It was a good way to show progress because they definitely progressed.
Yeah, my favourite group now.
Yeah, I don't think it's. There's not a whole lot of competition,
No,
but they would definitely.
can we count them as a single artist? I mean, it's not one person, obviously.
They're an artist because they're more a collective than the individual members. I'd say
Yeah.
the only individual members with like recent albums are Kevin Abstract. No one else has released one recently, so I suppose they are the artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, the third album, the third studio album, we'll go with for technicalities. Couldn't think of a better word there, but yeah, the third album they released, Saturation 3, tied up the trilogy. I think I'm going to do Saturation 2 as well, but I'm not going to do Saturation 1 because
It's alright.
it's alright, but it was, yeah, it had a lot of very good songs, but it also had some weaker moments, and to me it kind of feels like their least consistent album, and that's kind of an issue for me, and there was just a lot of low points for me, so I'm not going to go with that because it wouldn't really be much of a contest for like album of the decade. I don't think it would come near
No, I wouldn't.
my top 15 or top 25 or whatever this ends up being. But the first song on the album, Boogie,
Bop.
it's
Banger.
to me it's one of their best songs.
It's the first one I heard.
I think it's my most listened to song of all time on Spotify, and it's the first one I heard of theirs. It's just so upbeat and it's such a good hype song, and it's the best opening track they've done, like no doubt at all. It's just so consistently good, and each member has such a good verse on it. Like some of the songs, there's only a few of the members, or some of the members, like their verse outweighs everyone else's by a long shot.
I think the fact that I can remember all their verses.
Yeah, I can remember
really,
every
it's
verse
says
like,
a
in
lot.
order, and it's so good, and the production matches the verses so well, and it's just so like consistently brilliant, and
Yeah.
it's such a good way to open the album. Like there's no negatives of the song really, and I think it's one of the like best opening tracks of any album, and like it just opens this album so well, and it's such a good like representation of the group.
It's my favourite type of Brockhampton. Where they're
Yeah.
just, they're just
They're hype, they're
having
fun
fun.
songs, yeah.
even though some of the stuff they talk about is not always fun, but
But yeah, it's such a fun song, and it's so like loud, and I just have no issues with it really, and it's such a good way to kick off the album because it just kind of lets you know that it's going to be a good album. Like you can't start an album with a song this good and then just have the whole thing just be awful from there. Second song, Zipper, is like a follow up for me.
Good one, isn't it?
It's another really good one. Joba's verse at the beginning is so good, and the hook is really catchy, and the production's really catchy, and it's like one of their songs that gets stuck in my head so much.
He's just got this way of making things feel a little bit uneasy, but it's just like
he's
you
definitely
thought at the same time.
the most unique member of the group. Like
Yeah.
going from like his verse on Heat to then like his verse on Face or his verse on Boogie. Like all his verses are so different, but they're so good.
Yeah.
And it's like his versatility of being able to rap really well and then sing really well is just incredible. And like it's another song that just adds to the album, and it's such a good like compliment to Boogie. Like just another really hyped up fun song.
I think it's good that they had 2 hype songs at the beginning.
Yeah.
Rather than just go hype and just go down.
Yeah, like the tone doesn't change instantly, and even going from like Johnny and then to Liquid, there's a slight tone shift in each one, but it's not sudden and it doesn't sort of feel like abrasive or anything, and it doesn't feel like it's suddenly changing. So it's very smooth in the way that it transitions, and it just makes it more enjoyable to listen to for me. Johnny is potentially my least favourite song on the album, but that doesn't mean it's bad. I'd still give it like a high rating if I had to rate the song, and it's still a very enjoyable song to listen to.
Compared to the lows of Saturation 1,
Yeah.
I don't think the lows of this album are.
It's so
very
much more
low.
consistent.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the few albums where I definitely enjoy every song. Like every song is at least listenable and fun to listen to. Whereas there's a lot of albums like Saturation 1, there were a few songs I didn't like listening to, and Saturation 2, there were a lot of songs that were just kind of boring or didn't feel like they had a lot to them.
I think with those two albums, there's a few I'd skip.
Yeah,
if I'm
but I
honest.
don't think there were songs I prefer more than others on this one, but I don't think there's any I'd want to skip.
No.
They're all passable, and most of them are
This
very
is a good one to
enjoyable.
listen to in one go. I'd be happy to.
Yeah, it's a very good album to listen to as an album.
Yeah.
And while Johnny's a bit more experimental, it doesn't come off negatively. It might not have been the most like fine-tuned song on the album, but it kind of helps towards the tone shift of the album getting a little bit lower, and it doesn't take away from the overall quality for me. It just kind of shows the versatility that they can produce with these different songs and not have them be bad, I suppose. Liquid is then, it's kind of like their interlude song. They usually have like one 1 minute song on each of the albums, or the Saturation albums, which will sort of follow the same format. It's not amazing, but again, for a 1 minute song,
It's alright.
it doesn't have to be amazing.
It doesn't stay longer than it needs to.
Yeah. If it was like a 4 minute song of this, maybe it wouldn't be as enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because the verse is a little bit sleepy, but the second half and the like hook at the end is quite nice. It has issues of like the Amir flow that people talk about, where his flows are all the same, and I feel like it was more sort of evident in this than it has been in other songs. It is very just sort of by the numbers, but it's again not negatively impacted by that, if you ask me. Then into Stupid, which is one of the most fun songs on the album to me.
Yeah.
They're like the beat at the beginning, the little plinky sounds is so like infectious and catchy to listen to, and then Merlin's verse just opens it so well.
But he's just got such energy. I don't know,
Yeah.
there's something about...
Every verse that he does, just like he takes control of it, and it's so like confident and fun to listen to. And it's just like, it's such an upbeat song, and like the verses are fun as well. Like there's a lot of Brockhampton songs that are quite deep and like thought provoking, but this one's just like pure fun, and the hook's enjoyable. Yeah, but not necessarily to positive effect in that case. But there's a video on YouTube of how they made Stupid, and they made it in like 40 minutes or something.
Really?
Yeah, and it's just mad like how
I know when they were doing this,
how
they were
like
just
quickly they
banging
came
out
up
songs,
with, yeah,
weren't they?
like they come up with the hook in like the first 5 minutes. And it's like, it's just incredible how they can fine tune something so quickly. It's just such like a fun song to listen to. It's so upbeat and just weird, but in a good way. I suppose. Do you have any other comments on Stupid?
I guess with Merlin, just in general, I think a lot of people think he's just a silly member
Yeah.
because of the way he raps, and I'm like, well, there's a lot. He's got deeper stuff to him, you know.
Yeah, but then I
He
feel like
brings something.
when Merlin does a deeper verse, it seems more impactful.
Yeah.
Like his verse on Milk was like one of the best ones on like in Brockhampton's discography to me, because it's like when you hear him just sort of singing and rapping about random stuff, when he then does something more emotional, it's sort of more impactful because it just seems more serious, and it kind of catches you off guard a little bit because you're not prepared for it, and then when it does happen, it's more impactful to me. Onto Bleach, which is it's hard to say it's not
one
their
of
best
my
song.
favourite.
It's hard to argue against it.
It is, isn't it? It's just so.
It's another one where every member has a perfect verse.
And it goes so well with the production of it. It's just...
Yeah. It's definitely their... I don't know. It's such a good emotional song as well. Like the feature from Ryan Beatty and every member having a verse. I think it's one of... Is it the only song where every member has a verse?
Can't think of
One of the
top my head.
few where all of them have a verse, and it's so good, and the production is so good, and it's such a good emotional song.
Yeah.
And even like the beat switch near the end, it's like, it's just so good. I can't like fault this song, and it's probably, I feel like you need like 2 categories for Brockhampton songs, because you have like their fun hype
Fun
songs
ones,
and then their
you
slow, like, emotional ones, and it's hard to compare Boogie or Bleach, because for me they're both like perfect songs, but they're so incomparable because they're so different in tone.
I think I wouldn't listen to one after another, but
No, it might be a bit of a shock, but
they are both just
yeah. And I feel like that's one of the things about this album that I really enjoy. The fact that one of the best songs comes in the middle, Bleach. Like some of the, like
Which is
Saturation
weird.
1, my issue was all the good songs were at the beginning and then at the end, and the middle was a bit
just a bit filler.
boring to listen to. But it's just so consistent the whole way through, and it feels like every song is placed perfectly, because when there's a song that's a little bit weaker, it then kind of feels lifted up by the next song, which usually seems a little bit stronger.
Nothing.
Right, there goes back. Sorry about that. Right, into the next song, Alaska. It's another one of their more like consistent songs, but it doesn't stand out as much.
No.
It's like the beat's good, and the beat switch, especially near the end of the song, I love. And like the way the song carries on from there and then transitions into Hottie is so good. But like the opening verse is a little bit just kind of not brilliant. It doesn't stand out to me. Whilst it's still a very good song, it's just not that noteworthy.
I think because Brockhampton have a lot of high highs.
Yeah, they
with
have
their
so many
songs,
good songs.
whether that's lyrics or production. It's a song like Alaska doesn't stand out
Yeah,
within them.
there's a lot of good competition,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't quite sort of cut it as one of the better ones to me. So it's not as like groundbreaking.
No.
And Hottie then is the transition from Alaska to Hottie is so good though. Like that's really good. But then Hottie is one of their more noteworthy ones to me, just because it's one of their only like poppy songs, and it just kind of showed like how versatile they are, because they made like a proper pop song that you could like hear on the radio,
Really are a boy band.
and it's still and it's still like really fun to listen to and really entertaining. And it's something I sort of thought that I wouldn't enjoy as much, and I think the first couple of times I listened to it I didn't enjoy it as much, but it's one that sort of grows on you, and it's just sort of fun to listen to. It's just, and it's a nice sort of change, and especially putting it before Sister Nation, it's definitely a very big contrast, but sort of in a good way, not in like a bad way. I think that kind of adds to the impact that Sister has. What did you think of Hottie?
I think I'd agree with you on what you said, how it shows their range. I've not really got anything on Hottie, to be honest.
It's definitely not one of their best songs.
It wouldn't be the first one I think of,
Yeah.
personally. But again, like I said with the others, I wouldn't skip it.
Yeah.
It works within the album, and I would put it in a playlist of Brockhampton songs.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, I agree. It's fun to listen to, and it's enjoyable, and there aren't really many negatives to it for me, if I'm being honest. Sister then, I guess we'll talk about them separately as Sister then Nation. It's one of my favourites of theirs. Like leading, the transition is just top notch, and it's so like jarring, but it's meant to be. Like the sort of snap from Sister then to Nation.
Yeah.
But like the verses in Sister, obviously like I'm a big fan of Death Grips and sort of that style of experimental like rap / like rock or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, he's a very experimental.
And it's so experimental, but somehow they managed to pull it off so well. Like the verses fit perfectly. Matt's verse is incredible.
Like it could have felt weird.
Yeah.
If they didn't, I think they managed to get everything right with what they were trying to do.
I feel like this is definitely an example of like experimental music that's gone very right compared to like Iridescence, where a lot of the experimental elements didn't go amazingly. I think this is an example where the experimental aspect paid off very well, and it sort of worked in their favour.
Yeah.
And I think because it also was, excuse me, only about 2 minutes of it, I think, if it, because then it transitions into Nation, if it was like the full like 4 or 5 minute song, it would have been quite, it could have had like an effect on the album, because I think it would have been hard to then go back to like a song like Rental.
Yeah.
It would have sort of put you too deep into experimental music that then going back to their normal style
It's kind of like
would
a
have
little
just
ad
been
break.
it would have just been a bit of a shock.
You've had all this, now let's just do our experimental stuff, and then we'll just go back to...
And it's like a snippet of it, but it worked very well. And then paired up with Nation, like the transition into it, going like straight from the chorus of Sister and then cutting into the middle of the song in Nation fits so well. And Nation is like such a good song to be like the reverb. They're so heavy, but it feels so like spacey because of it. And some songs can feel like too like washed out because they use too much reverb, but it like fits perfectly on this for me because it just feels more sort of like dreamy in a way. And I think if it came as a separate song after Sister, it would have felt too jumpy, but because of the transition and it being on the same song, it then sort of complements it.
It's a good move from them.
It complements it in the contrast, like the way it's completely different, but it just cuts off Sister in the middle of the song, just kind of fits perfectly to me. And I feel like it's kind of how they got away with how experimental Sister was, because it carries into the same song, and it's like two different halves that just kind of combine and go well, really, really well together for me. So like Sister Nation is one of my favourite songs of theirs, just because it's so different.
I respect that, how it is different to their other stuff. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah,
I thought.
I think Rental, the third to last track, is the most underrated Brockhampton song by so far for me.
I don't know why.
I don't know why it's not
I mean,
so
I like
popular.
it.
I think it's so good. I think the beat is so like fun.
Yeah.
And then the hook as well is really good. And Matt's verse is amazing. And Don's verse is amazing. And it's just really like, it's just fun to listen to. And it's that good mix of like emotional, but also like poppy and just enjoyable to listen to.
Yeah.
And like hearing Matt actually sing, it's just really weird, but it
took
works
me
so
aback
well.
a bit when I first heard it.
And it just kind of feels like every time I listen to it, I enjoy it more, which I don't like with most songs.
I do feel like with Matt, he doesn't get too many times to shine, but I think in Rental, he owns it.
Yeah, it's definitely his like standout moment to me. Stains isn't one of the like overly standout songs to me.
Absolute banger though.
You think so?
Yeah, it's one of my favourite ones.
Really?
Yeah.
One of my
chime
friends.
in.
Go on, we've got Josh's shining moment coming up.
I just really like the flow and the beat and all like that. I like the way it all links together because they repeat. I think they repeat some lines from each other's verses occasionally.
Yeah, because one of my friends said that it's his favourite Brockhampton song, and that kind of caught me by surprise because it's one of my like less favourite. I still enjoy it. I'd still give it like an 8 or something if I was to rate it as a song. But I don't know. I just don't sort of connect with the production as much, and I really like the hook. I don't know. If it might be a Mears verse that I'm not a huge fan of. I can't really pinpoint what it is
I
exactly.
think it's one of the better structured songs in a way.
Yeah, I think the
see what you
structure
mean,
is very good and it's very consistent, and it sort of like comes in quickly and goes straight into it, and then sort of carries on consistently. So I can see why it's people's favourites, but I don't know. I'm not quite connected
It's one
with
of
it.
your favourites.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Would it be like top 5?
Of Brockhampton, I'm not sure, but definitely in the top of Saturation 3.
Oh, fair enough.
Well,
Yeah, that's what he's here for. He's here for his expert input.
and I'll block him.
Rare,
There
but
you go.
rare
Thank you,
but
Josh.
yeah, I can see sort of why it's people's favourites, but I don't know. I just never really connected with it as much as I did some of the other songs. It kind of felt like Alaska to me. It was kind of like,
like I said, there's so many good songs.
yeah, I feel like
it's hard
if it
for some
doesn't
of them
really
to
stand out,
Yeah.
yeah. then it's kind of taken for granted a little bit.
I mean, like you said you'd give it an 8.
Yeah.
That's a good score.
Yeah, and this is probably why it's one of my favourite albums of all time. Because even the songs I don't enjoy as much,
which is kind of annoying. Because would you think if you didn't like some of the songs as much as you did, would you really like some of these ones? Would your opinions change slightly?
Yeah, true.
Because there's
yeah. Leading into the last song, Team, the barefaced moment that he gets on every album.
Every time he gets me.
I'm conflicted with this one because I think it's his best performance, like the drop and the long, like falsetto verse, and the whole production is so good, and it's a perfect thing to like close out the trilogy of his songs, because like the trilogy of the barefaced songs all being like connected in the story. So Team being from his perspective, Waste being from the boyfriend's perspective, and then Summer being from the girlfriend's perspective, all kind of like,
it's such a good idea,
it's such a good trilogy, yeah, and it's a perfect way to close it out, and like a perfect way to close out Saturation 3. But then his part's only like 2 minutes, and it's like got the bit at the end I do really enjoy, and like the verses at the end were really good and really emotional. But also there's less barefaced, so I'm a bit conflicted.
I'll take any bareface I can get in the Saturation trilogy.
Yeah, it's... I'm glad he's got more.
I like him
more
being
time now in Ginger.
He feels like a more leading member now than he ever did, and I think when Saturation was coming out, I think with him being at the end of all the albums, it's just like such a difference from all the other songs. But it was just like
he has such a
nice way to end it, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's one of the it's probably the best thing they could have done to end Saturation 3 and the trilogy.
Yeah.
There you go, we're back. Sorry about that one again. I say we're back, they're not going to know. It's just going to cut straight away, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, if anyone's watching this far into the video. I think the ending of Team, especially with it looping back round to Heat, is so good. Like the whole album looping in a circle is just great. And any bareface is good bareface. I think it's a very good way to end the album. And just a really good song, really. Stands out on its own. All of the bareface songs are some of the best Brockhampton songs because he's just like, the best member. Fight me on
that. Wow.
I'm waiting for challenges.
I mean, my favourite... What's your favourite member, Josh?
Ooh. Job or bareface?
Those are the two correct answers. I will accept those. What about you, Aaron?
Job or Merlin. Used to be Matt for a while.
I think it's Dom or Bareface for me, or maybe Joba.
I like Dom.
Dom's the best rapper, I think.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like Merlin is so unique.
Yeah,
and I really appreciate that. But, and then Joba just. I think it was sweet. It was sweet that on
Merlin's verse
for both of Joba and Merlin. That was just
Sweet's another really good one of theirs. But anyway, overall thoughts on the album. There's no doubt for me that it will be one of my albums of the decade. So I'm going to do like a top 15 of one album per artist and then like a top 25 overall. It'll definitely be in the top 25, potentially in the top 15 because I don't know if I prefer this to Ginger. But
see, for a while I thought I preferred this, but I listened to Ginger recently. And I'm just a bit like...
They're so difficult to compare because
they're very different.
Yeah.
One's, I'd say, sad Brockhampton.
And this is like banger Brockhampton.
Yeah.
But I think this felt like a different direction to Saturation 2 and 1. They both felt very sort of samey, but the experimentation in this was just like a different level to me. Like Boogie
polished.
Was such a banger. And then Johnny was a bit weird and out there, but it worked. Then Bleach was like one of their best emotional songs. Then they had a pop song in Hottie. Then they had the experimental craziness of Sister. And it just felt like even when they were trying new things in those songs, it came off so well and the whole thing was so consistent.
Yeah.
Like the lowest rating I'd give for a song in this album is maybe like a 7.5.
Not bad.
It's one of the few albums where not only I enjoy every song, but I think every song is good. And every song is enjoyable to listen to, and it's the only Brockhampton album that I can say that for. Yeah, only Brockhampton album I can say that for. I think there's a couple of songs on Ginger I'm not a huge fan of. But every song on this I'm such a big fan of, and it feels like that album where the group was sort of like gelled the most. Like, I don't think there was any member on this album who stood out more than anyone else. I feel like everyone had such a good part on one song or another, and everyone had like a standout moment on this album alone.
It's a very high to finish a trilogy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
just
a perfect
like,
way
as
to
a
end
collective.
the album.
It just works.
Yeah, because they tried so many different things that paid off.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like they played it safe. Like Saturation 2, I really enjoyed, but it kind of feels a bit safe.
There's a lot of songs I really like in Saturation 2 that stand out to me.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like they tried a whole lot new.
No.
Whereas with this, it felt like they tried new things, like with Matt singing on Rental, or All of Sister, or a lot more beat switches, and all of it kind of worked. It felt like every risk that they took paid off, and yeah, for me, it's no doubt there'll be. If it makes it above Ginger, then it will be in my top 10. And in my top 25, it will also probably be in my top 10 or near the top 10. It's one of the albums that got me sort of back into listening to music consistently. And it's probably my most listened to album ever. I think, like, in one go and all of the songs combined, it's probably the album I've listened to the most. But give it like another year and Eagle will probably beat it. But I've listened to this album a lot. Do you have any other thoughts about it?
Good way to finish off a trilogy. Great album in general. It's the first one I've listened to, which is weird.
Yeah,
but
yeah, same. Even though it's the last of the trilogy.
Yeah, it's one of my favourite groups.
Yeah,
just in general,
it shows how versatile they are.
Yeah,
I think on this album
they just get to show off.
Yeah,
but they show off with it being consistently, like, it works.
Consistently good. Yeah, it was definitely the best of the Saturation trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on the album, Josh?
Best of the Saturation. Boogie was my first Brockhampton song, so
same.
Yeah.
And what a I think that might be why it's my favourite song, because it was the first Brockhampton song I listened to, and I remember, like, my friend was like, "Oh, listen to this," and I remember messaging him as I was listening to it, like, "What's going on? This is like nothing I've listened to." It's just such a fun song.
I've never heard something with that much energy. Just straight away. It's just.
I feel like this album is structured perfectly, with Boogie being the first song, Bleach being the middle song, and Team being the last song.
Yeah.
Like, it's perfectly placed to just be brilliant. And yeah, I don't have anything else to say. It's just definitely a top one for me.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
No.
And I'll wrap it up there. Thank you for watching. The next review will probably be on maybe Awaken My Love, but it depends.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see how it goes. But yeah, we'll see you for the next one.